Yeah. I need some. Um,
Okay. It's nice not having to remember.
huh? Oh, cool. I'll tell you. Right, right. 4 minutes. Okay. She was asking me. She was asking when she would start. I said in 4 minutes.
More chairs over here and one over here, young lady. You don't have to stand.
Yeah, these, they're not gonna, they will go out at 7:30, 7:45. You know? Oh, I'll take it. I took a few of them. No, but the people said I'm fine with the digital, maybe you were just fine with the digital. Board docs, if you don't want it, leave it, we'll take it back.
Jeff, you wear fun socks because you know we can see them.
I just wear fun socks all the time.
Love it.
That's my thing.
I bought my daughter all these fun socks. She doesn't wear them all the time because she wants to match my socks. I only wear black. You have to match that.
That's my
Well, I think you have a job then.
We don't take the medical socks in lots of fun colors.
Well, you need to get on that. That's a business opportunity.
Isn't that?
I'm going to call the public portion of the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First, I just want to say welcome to everyone back to our in-person public meetings. And for those individuals that couldn't make it tonight, we are live streaming our meeting tonight on our Naugatuck Public Schools YouTube page. So our first order is the pledge. Ms. Grant, if you want to lead us in the.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We'll now move into discussion and possible action on matters emanating from executive session. And could I have a motion to approve the non-union employee salary increases as presented and discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Second. We have a second by, motion by Ethel and a second by Dorothy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. We'll then move into approval of the minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Marilyn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. We will then move into public comment. Since it has been a while since we've been in person and had had public comment. I'm just going to read again our public comment policy. Board of Ed Policy 8133. Any individual recognized by the board chairman to speak shall give his or her name, address, the group, if any, that is being represented, and the subject to be discussed. The presentation should be as brief as possible unless an extension of time is granted by the chairman. The speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes. The board will not permit in public session any expression of personal complaint about school personnel, nor against any person connected with the school system, including students. Persons with personal complaints regarding personnel should speak with the superintendent of schools as a means of bringing concerns for consideration and disposition. Speakers will not be permitted to participate in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. Speakers will be advised that comments must be limited to items which directly relate to the school district. The chair of the board will maintain the prerogative to discontinue any presentation which violates any of the public participation guidelines. As a matter of standard procedure, public comment will be confined to that portion of the agenda reserved for petitions and comments and is subject to board approval. With that said, if anyone would like to offer public comment, please step to the podium and again state for the record your name and address.
No, you have to leave it on indoors by executive order. Thank you, sir.
My name is Mike Van Horn. I live at 453 Mulberry Street. And this is in regards to face masks in school. Is that an acceptable topic?
Yes.
Okay. My position is that the wearing of face masks in school should be voluntary. Parents and students should decide what they believe is best for them, as we have always done in the past. If people want to be free to make choices that result in health consequences, then they should accept not only the benefits, but also the cost of the decisions. And there seems to be no way to effectively top-down, centrally coordinate control of individuals' lives and at the same time allow them to live based upon their individual values and preferences. If we put the COVID-19 disease into perspective, per the Connecticut portal COVID-19 data tracker, we look at the mortality rate by age. To date, ages 0 to 9, 1 death. Ages 10 to 19, 3 deaths. Ages 20 to 29, 10 deaths. And the trend increases as age goes up. The majority of the deaths occur in the 80 and older group, totaling 3,735 deaths. And in fact, they make up more deaths than all of the other age groups combined. The New England Journal of Medicine published this correspondence titled Open Schools, COVID-19 and Child and Teacher Morbidity in Sweden. And it states that the social distancing was encouraged in Sweden, but wearing face masks was not. The number of deaths from any cause among the 1.9 million children to 16 in the 4 months pre-COVID was 65, and during the 4 months of exposure to COVID, March to June 2020 was 69. And it goes on to state that in the period, a total of 15 children with COVID were admitted to ICU, yet no child with COVID-19 died. Despite Sweden's having kept schools and preschools open, we found a low incidence of severe COVID-19 among school children and children of preschool age during the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. You may believe face masks are effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19, and I would not fault you for that belief. In fact, most of you, again, representatives of various governmental agencies have been elected with making this claim over the past year and a half, and some cite scientific research to support the claim. In an evidence-based scientific analysis of why masks are ineffective, unnecessary, and harmful, Dr. Jim Meehan states that absolutely no research appeared to counter the 40 years of meta-analysis and systemic reviews of many randomized controlled trials that concluded that masks don't work to prevent the transmission of upper respiratory viruses. Even as recent as May 2020, the CDC, in a policy review titled Non-Pharmaceutical Measures for Pandemic Influenza in Non-Healthcare Settings, Personal Protective and Environmental Measures, claimed that although mechanistic studies support the potential effect of hand hygiene and face masks, evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials of these measures did not support a substantial effect on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza. While this paper mentions influenza, it's also relevant to influenza-like illnesses, which are also referenced. The CDC also cites studies that make the claim that masks are effective in slowing the transmission of SARS-CoV-2. These studies are, however, lower quality observational or cohort studies. In a critical analysis of the COVID response by Dr. R. Ivan Ariarte, he references Daniel Horowitz's comprehensive analysis of 50 states shows greater spread with mask mandates. And Denny Irancourt's review of scientific reports of harms caused by face masks, and Elishiva Rosner's adverse effects of prolonged mask use among healthcare professionals during COVID-19. Combined, the three studies support the idea that mask mandates seem ineffective, possibly resulting in more spread of disease, and they come at the cost of the wearer's health. So what justification can there be to force children who are at low risk of severe or fatal effects from COVID-19 to spend most of their entire day at school wearing a face mask when the cost is greater than the perceived benefit? Rosner's paper makes mention of specific burdens associated with wearing face masks, stating prolonged use of N95 and surgical masks causes physical adverse effects such as headaches, difficulty breathing.
I'm sorry, sir, your 5 minutes has passed.
And can I just ask for an extension just to read the adverse effects really quickly for this?
If there's someone else that wants to speak and yield their time to you,
Okay,
they can do that.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Can I ask a question quickly? There's some parents that are in the hall that were trying to come in. Can they not be let in after 7 PM?
There is an overflow.
Oh, okay. She said she
There's
just
a
wasn't
huge
being let in.
space right here, right behind.
There were some chairs there that were, so.
Because we're a family unit,
Yeah.
so, there's no reason for us to social distance.
We're still trying to.
But there's social distancing behind us. It's only 3 feet now, so.
But there is an overflow room. So if there is anyone else that wants public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address.
How's everyone doing today? My name is Aaron McCool. My address is 51 Brook Street, Naugatuck, Connecticut. I've got a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old entering school this fall here in Hot Brook. She's been at the ECC for a year. I've been talking to the board, the governor, the superintendent for a long time about mask mandates. And there are other topics that I'd love to talk about, but I feel like this one isn't settled yet. And so I'm here today to talk about it. You guys put out some guidance and some recommendations for this year's school year, but there was no study attached to it. There was no learning for parents to look at to decide for ourselves if that guidance that was given was right for our families. So I would ask you, who brings that guidance to the Board of Ed, for Naugatuck, for us to be putting masks on our children? What study did they use? Who authorized and published that study? And when was it published? I would ask you to think about that mandates, guidance, and recommended rules are not laws, and they're not made by people we elect, like we elect you guys to make decisions for our children. They're made by people we did elect in offices far away from Naugatuck. I would ask you to be very clear for us which masks we can use when we are masking our children per your guidance for this fall semester. Are we allowed to use cloth masks? Are we using disposables? Are we using KN95s? I brought with me, for you guys, bought from Walmart today, some cloth masks and some disposables. But both of them say right on them that this mask is not a respirator. This mask does not eliminate the risk of contraction of any disease or infection. This one here states that it's not good for infection risk levels or high inhalation. and I brought pictures of another box for you guys, and I brought enough for all the board members, that this one will not provide any protection against COVID-19, coronavirus, or other viruses or contaminants. If you're going to rely on someone's guidance, I would ask the board to have a special session to bring that person in to talk to parents and answer questions. And then I'd ask you, who pays for these masks? When I look on the website and I get guidance, up until the post that was put on your Facebook page, it said my daughter needed a water bottle and a book bag. You guys are gonna provide things like pencils, Chromebooks, and paper, Band-Aids at the nurse's office, ice packs, and gauze. You don't charge parents for that. There are about 4,359 students in Naugatuck Public Schools. If we were gonna change the masks per the guidance of the CD3 every 3 hours, 3 times a day, at minimum, we're talking about 13,077 masks. That's 65,000 a week. And then 180 school days, we're talking about 2,353,860 masks minimum a year. And it doesn't include all the times they have to change it because they go to the bathroom, they touch them, they remove them, they eat. If we bought the cheapest masks, these ones I got here in the box from Walmart, that would be a cost of, for the school, if you're gonna pay for it, of $564,000. We're talking about KN95s, the only masks that the hospitals say that are good, we're talking about $35 million in mask expense for the children in this school district. And while we're wasting time talking about masks, instead of giving parents the choice to make the right decision for their families, we're not talking about the fact that the academics in Naugatuck Public Schools are a C+. The administration gets a C rating on niche.com, and this is where they aggregate all the information across the country for public schools. We get an A in diversity, but our math scores are in the 45th percentile, and our readings are in the 54th. And our graduation rate last year was only 86%. And those numbers are too low for me. So again, I ask what information we're using to make these decisions for our kids, and why choice for families can't be the right decision for Naugatuck. Because no one's asking anyone to take risks that they don't want. They're asking you to let parents decide what's best for their children, like we always have.
These are for you guys. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to offer public comment? Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
This is Reagan Mikowski, and she is a 5th grader at Cross Street School in the fall. We live at 29 Crestwood Drive in Naugatuck.
I want to tell you about how I feel wearing a mask. In my classroom, I have a hard time concentrating on my schoolwork. I love my school and my friends. I don't want to wear a mask.
Thank you. And is there any other public comment? Please step to the podium and offer your name and address for the record.
My name is Jeremy Van Horn, and I live on 453 Mulberry Street. I would also like to continue what my dad, Michael Van Horn, was reading before about the other potential issues raised by people wearing face masks. Medical masks adversely affect respiratory physiology and function. Medical masks lower oxygen levels in the blood. Medical masks raise carbon dioxide levels in the blood. SARS-CoV-2 is armed with a urine cleavage site that makes it more pathogenic. In people with lower arterial oxygen levels diffuse a mask wearing. Medical masks trap inhaled viral and other pathogens in the mouth mask interspace, increase viral infectious load, and increase the severity of disease. SARS-CoV-2 becomes more dangerous when blood oxygen levels decline. The purine cleavage site with SARS-CoV-2 increases cellular invasion, especially during hypoxia, low blood oxygen levels. Cloth masks may increase the risk of contracting COVID-19 and other respiratory infections. Wearing a face mask may give a false sense of security. Masks compromise communications and reduce social distancing. Untrained and inappropriate management of face masks. Masks worn imperfectly. Masks collect and colonize viruses, bacteria, and mold. Wearing face masks makes the inhaled air respiratory going to be honest. Contact tracing studies show that asymptomatic carriers and carrier transmission is very rare. Face masks and stay-at-home orders prevent the development of herd immunity. Face masks are dangerous and contraindicated for a large number of people with pre-existing medical conditions and disabilities. In light of the evidence that are presented, I do not believe that the possible benefits outweigh the possible harms. Now, on a personal note, for myself, I do not enjoy wearing masks. I don't believe that they help me in any way. I believe they do more of a hindrance than anything. And so I would ask that it be the parent's choice. I would like to come up as proof that not only the parents, but also kids agree with the points being made here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? If so, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Okay, good evening. My name is Craig Mikowski. I live at 29 Crestwood Drive. And my daughter Reagan just spoke a couple minutes ago to everyone. And I applaud her for standing up for her rights. Okay. I have 4 kids. I'm father of 4 here in Naugatuck. 3 of my kids are currently in the Naugatuck school system. And what we're discussing tonight is about freedom of choice. It should be the parent's decision to make that decision for a kid to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut with my brothers, and I'm a son of a firefighter. My dad worked long, hard hours, worked some crazy hours, so my mom would bring me and my brothers down to visit my dad. And we enjoyed watching him getting dressed up into his fire gear with fireproof pants, jacket, gloves, and airtight face mask with heavy tanks of oxygen that protect him so he can breathe going into fires, whether it's buildings or residential areas. We all know and agree that we need oxygen to live and breathe. Without oxygen, we will die. We breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. We have seen this past summer with smoke in the air from the awful wildfires out west. Now, I couldn't imagine how bad it is out west. It's pretty bad when the CDC states that these cloth masks that we are asking our kids to wear are no good for smoke. So what I don't understand, why are we asking for something to put on our children that do not work for smoke that we can see and that's tangible to something that we cannot see, which is very small, like a virus? So I'm just asking, it's freedom of choice. If someone wants to wear one, that's fine, but I don't feel it's necessary for my kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
I am Alicia Mikowski, and I live at 29 Crestwood Drive. There's a whole bunch of us here, sorry. We have 4 kids. One of my children actually just graduated from Naugatuck High School. I feel like they yeeted her out the door, but that's okay. That's another story altogether. Very happy that we're not doing virtual learning this year. She did terrible with it. And I don't know if anybody else in the room struggled. I know that my children did not virtually learn well. I have 3 kids on the autistic spectrum, and it was horrendous. Another thing, my kids that have autism, that are on that autism spectrum, they can't do this. They can't do this all day. This to them is very distracting. To the point of the gentleman that said that masks create a false sense of security, that is true. The minute you touch it, which I just have, it is useless. You must put it away in the trash. It's garbage. If you go into the bathroom, which is disgusting, all of our little children are filing into the bathroom that do not have lids and wearing their disgusting mask out of the bathroom and into their classroom and bringing fomites into their classrooms. It's absolutely absolutely despicable. And let me tell you, you don't have your mask on? How many times do you touch your face when you're not wearing a mask? You don't. Yeah, I'm just saying. I am very concerned about our exit strategy. I don't see an exit strategy. We are going to wear masks forever. I know we have until the 30th, I get it. You know, the governor up there, he's got a plan for Connecticut, and apparently it is masks until he says so. He's the king. And I would very much so like on the next day after for our kids to have a choice and for parents to have a choice, especially of children that have 504 plans and IEP programs. And I'm in that situation. I have a child that a teacher approached me last year and asked me to please medicate my child because they weren't able to concentrate in class. That is a problem. Another problem, I have another child that is small who has something called, I don't know if you know about Kohlberg's morality. Basically what it states is that when you are small, you develop a certain sense of morality. Well, my child was scared to drink. He lost 4 teeth this year via an oral surgeon, and his oral surgeon said absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt it was the masks that helped to make that happen for him, that he lost 4 teeth. Yes, they were baby teeth. I'm exceedingly thankful that they were baby teeth and not adult teeth, but he lost 4 teeth, much to the detriment of his pain level. It was very difficult for us to go through as a family, and it was not free. So not only do I have to purchase all of these masks for my children, for my 4 children, but I also have to go ahead and worry about their oral care because they're not drinking enough water during the day because they're scared to ask the teacher if they could take their mask off. And you're having all these kids not go to the lunchroom. They're not doing things that they normally would do. They're eating their lunches at their desks behind their little, cubicle, whatever thing. And what do they do when they're done with their lunch? Well, you know what they do. They put their mask right back on their face after they flush the toilet, and they're smaller, so they're closer to the toilet. So after they've gone ahead and reached over and touched that toilet, and they've gone ahead and got all that crap and everything else all over their masks, and now they're going to go ahead and eat their lunch, and they're going to go ahead and put that thing right back on their face without much brushing their teeth or anything like that. Honestly, this is the most disgusting thing we have ever done. It's gross. And that's my opinion, but drop the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Megan Smith of 41 Mulberry Street. I am a Naugatuck resident. I have 3 children, 2 are in the system right now. I'm also a nurse full-time, if our credentials mean anything. So I'm going to approach this with an email that I sent that I received responses on. So thank you to the few of you that did reply. I appreciate your time. So I'm going to approach this by utilizing Naugatuck's vision of graduate. You guys taught me this, so here we go. The responsible citizen. I would be doing my children and the other children of Naugatuck Public Schools a disservice if I did not address the return to school state plan. I'm doing the responsible thing by outlining and providing facts and data to show you what you have chosen as a board without the input of families. It's cruel, and in fact, the time I wrote this, it wasn't mandated. Unfortunately, that's changed. It is encouraged for specific financial aid. It feels as a parent as our children are just dollar signs. The guidelines were put in place by you and you alone with no input from those who elected you into your positions. I've reached out to you and I've trusted that you would do what's best for my children as well as the other children of Naugatuck, and I was met with disappointment. The researcher. Throughout this pandemic, I've done extensive research, not only for the safety of myself and my family, but for my patients. Working in healthcare, treating COVID patients day in and day out, and being educated on the proper safety precautions needed to protect myself and others was imperative. Especially as of late, the efficacy of masks, the type that our children and school staff are wearing, have been proven ineffective, if not harmful in long-term use, especially in the younger children. Surgical and cloth masks provide no protection from COVID-19 and are not intended to be worn by healthy individuals. N95 masks, when properly fitted by a trained professional, are the only masks that have been proven effective. There's been a significant increase in developmental delays in children as a direct result of mask wearing. Connecticut is one of only 11 states that are requiring preschool children to be masked. I didn't count for children over 5. I could continue under this category, but I want to try and make sure everything I have to say is addressed. Number 3 is the innovator. I suppose this is the part where we try to work together, come up with a plan that satisfies the students and the parents, as well as the Board of Ed. Personally, I feel like this part is the easiest, and we make them optional. Let the parents choose. Review the data for yourselves, listen to the parents and the students, and don't let the state dangle dollar signs. We should be leaders and not followers here at Naugatuck. The informed thinker. All this time, we've been following the science. The science today states that Connecticut has a low positivity rate. States such as Florida, Texas, and Mississippi have completely reopened their schools without masks and have actually seen a decrease in their positive cases in children. They've also seen a decrease in child and teen suicide and mental health crisis as a direct result of lifting the mask mandates. Suicide rates were up 250% in the year 2020. Number 5, the communicator. I come to you with the facts, the data, and the plea to please stand up for our children. This is what you were elected to do. Stand up for what's right. Show them what it means to be a leader. Present the facts, the data, and the truth. Be a role model to our students. Show them that they have a choice, that they have rights, and show them how to be brave in the face of tyranny. The problem solver. It's simple. Give them choice. Sometimes doing the right thing is scary and difficult, and you'll never make everyone happy. But giving our children the freedom of choice isn't difficult or scary, but the right thing to do. The pandemic is coming to an end, but unfortunately the pandemonium has not. Sorry, I have a couple pages here. You've carried out these mandates for over a year now, allowing no input from those who hold you accountable, because you knew it was wrong and you knew it could not withstand the scrutiny of the public. We've sacrificed the social, emotional, and psychological development of our children. In 2018-2019 flu season, 480 children died. That is more deaths in children than COVID has taken. Did any of you suggest mask wearing in the 2018-2019 flu season? Every single death is a tragedy, but the cure should never be worse than the disease. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? If so, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Van Horn. I live at 453 Mulberry Street. And I'm here today to talk about the masks. I have children in the school system. I have, my youngest is going to 6th grade, but when he was in 2nd and 3rd grade, he had a horrible school experience. He would cry every morning, he didn't want to go to school. Classroom, I would call to pick him up from school. It was really hard. He would run and hide, they couldn't find him. I was distraught as a parent, I didn't know what to do. So I listened to the teachers and the principal, and at their suggestion, they said, you know, we can't tell you that he needs medication, but, you know, take him to the doctor, and he needs a 504, which he got. So I took him to the doctor, she did her assessment, I filled out my assessment, the teachers filled out their assessment, and she said that he had ADD and defiance disorder, and that he needed medication. And so she gave me the prescription. I didn't fill it out right away because I didn't feel as a parent that this was the right course of action for him. I just knew in my heart that something else was wrong, and I was determined to find out what it was. Kind of like how I feel about the mask situation. I really don't feel like this is a great solution. So I took him to psychotherapy, we did nutrition, we did everything that we could think of. I talked to so many people about what was going on, and finally someone turned me to a doctor. And I brought him there. He was diagnosed with a TBI, And he was referred to an audio, a behavioral pediatric audio specialist and a vision specialist. So they said that yes, he did have a TBI. He had a 50% loss of scope of vision in one of his eyes, and that he had audio and visual processing disorder that was undiagnosed. So we did weeks and weeks and weeks of therapy, and thank God it was completely resolved. So we started fourth grade, he was at a new school, we did our 504, and at the 504, after they assessed him, they came back in and they said, this is like a different child. This is not even the same child on paper that we're seeing. And he had a fantastic year. That was fourth grade. Last year, he was in fifth grade. He would come home every day. He had headaches, he had a rash, he had anxiety. He didn't want to go to school. He hated the math, obviously, and he did not have that great of a year last year. So I feel the same way as I did about when, I listened to the experts about what to do with my child. I was not told what to do with him, thank God. I wasn't forced to, give him the medicine or go the route that they suggested, because all the experts were wrong, the teachers, the principal, and the doctor. And so now we're looking to these experts, and one of the experts in the field is Dr. Fauci right now, and he is on video, and he is on record in the email stating the virus particles are too small to be stopped by a mask. He said masks were useless. I believe him, okay? And now we are masking our kids, and you're not giving us a choice. You're not giving parents the choice to make the decision if we want to mask them or not. It is a medical decision. And I know I don't also want to do virtual learning. That was terrible. But you have removed that now, and so you're forcing parents' hand at masking. We have no other choice. You're not giving us the opportunity to say no. And for immune-compromised kids, because that keeps coming up, oh, what about the immune-compromised? Well, give them virtual learning so that they can stay home. Actually, there were many other viruses besides COVID that would be very harmful and detrimental to them. So now you're forcing our hand. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. We have this authoritarian government that's telling us what to do. And I know that they're holding the dollar signs over your head. I just found out that the Department of Health in Connecticut actually makes it a requirement, masking for funding. So you don't get funding if you don't follow that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But I think that that's wrong. This is the Constitution state, not the communist state. You should give us the freedom and the way that we feel best about it. And now they're not even allowed to stay at home and do school at home because they don't want to be masked. So I don't know what to do as a parent. I'm considering what to do with my youngest son.
You're fighting it.
Okay. I'm asking you to stand the gap in between our government and the children, and consider the children and make the right decision, at least make masking optional, please.
Is there any other public comment? Please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Carrie Messenger, 69 Moore Street. I'll be brief. My daughter has been in the Naugatuck public school system from first grade through sophomore year. She's entering her junior year at another school, but we decided to switch schools for many reasons besides the masks. But I just want to say, I know there's a lot of talk about protecting other children. From first grade through fifth grade, my daughter was 9 months old when she was diagnosed with neutropenia, which is an immune-compromised disease. And she could have not get any vaccines, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, anything. From that time, when we spent many days at Yale New Haven Hospital with oncologists and hematologists, not once did anyone tell us or my daughter to wear a mask. Not once did we ever ask the Naugatuck school system to have her classmates wear masks. Not once was that even suggested, even though she was immunocompromised. Not once, even though she had no vaccine and no choice in the matter. We chose what was best for our daughter and took the risk in whether she would go to school or not without a mask. With an immunocompromised, she couldn't get polio, she could have gotten anything from anyone that didn't want to get vaccinated. We took that responsibility on ourselves, like it should be. Parents should have the choice whether they should mask their kids. My daughter is now going to another school. Our son is still in this school. He's a senior. We do not want him to miss out on all the things that seniors should get to do, should get to go to prom, should get to go to graduation, should get to go to school and smile at their other classmates and socialize with their other classmates. To me, that is more of a risk and more of a detriment to our children than COVID could ever possibly be, as you can see by the statistics of what happens with COVID in our children. It is not that big of a risk. I think the masking is more of a risk than anything. And I just hope that this school system will take the time to consider that parents would like to make that choice for themselves. And if not, I am ready to vote other people into the school system, and I would vouch for those people that want to change the way the school system is run. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Isaiah Wu, and I live on 241 Cherry Street, and I pretty much second everything that's been stated. Yeah, these things are pretty uncomfortable. I don't like them, and if you have any evidence that they work, please tell me. That's all.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Hi, I just wanted to, talk about my son, who's 8 years old. Oh, I'm Lisa Eggers from Convocation. He is completely a typical child. And he wore these masks, and he came home with them. They were filthy, they were soaking wet. He did not like them. He did not do well this year, in previous years as well. And all I would ask is that I can see that they're not doing any good for him. I can see as a mother that they're harming him. So I would ask that I be given the choice to allow him not to have to wear them, because I can see as a mother, they are not helping him, they're harming him. And I would just ask for that I could make the decision for him. And I would respect everyone's decision to wear a mask if that's what they want to do. I think that if other children want to come with a mask, they should be respected. But I would like to make that decision for my son and for my children. When I was at work this year, I worked in a school setting, and we wore masks, and we were very strict about that. I had the mask on all the time, and I got COVID in that environment, wearing a mask like this all the time. So I think, and I think we all know here, that these masks are theater. But with respect, other people, if they feel more comfortable wearing those masks, but please give me, as a mother, the opportunity to make that decision for my son. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? And for the last time, is there any other public comment? Seeing none, thank you all for your comments. We appreciate them. We will then move into the superintendent's report. And I will turn it over to Superintendent Montini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we are set to finalize our application for the American Rescue Plan, ARP-ESSER, as it's being referred to. It has our overview of the grant has been posted on our website. the 5 categories of the grant priorities that we have written our specific grant around are learning acceleration, academic renewal, and student enrichment, social emotional mental health of students and school staff, family and community connections, strategic use of technology, building safe and healthy schools. We received 80 some odd comments on the plan, 24 of which were in support of the plan. We had comments that were related to supporting social, emotional, and mental health. Some comments in support of smaller class size, and these are sort of in rank order. We had 8 comments regarding removing masks, 7 comments related to improving ventilation, potentially adding AC, 6 comments related to extracurricular activities, and then some various other comments. You'll see a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet that was posted in the inboard docs and posted publicly has more specific strategies aligned to each one of those priorities that will be funded over the course of the next 2 years with ARPESR if approved. We will be finalizing the grant tomorrow after this evening. So I don't know if any folks have any questions and would like me to review something specific.
Are there any questions for Superintendent Nelson?
I will keep you abreast of the status of the grant and progress on the strategies over the course of the next couple of years. A lot of those strategies are related to what will be our strategic plan, which is in draft form. So we'll be discussing them at length over the course of the next couple of years. Next, we have our 21-22 back to, or our return to school update, or safe school. The verbiage in the plan changed. Somebody's going to bring up the PowerPoint. I think it's the lower right, last one posted. You'll notice that there's a number of documents that are posted there, that the documents that were posted were sent out as reminders to the MPS community in regards to where we stand around mask wearing. And there were embedded links in the document that was shared. There was some sharing things that needed to be tweaked that we took care of so they can have access. So it's a brief PowerPoint on in regards to our update where we stand right now. So we'll start with our guiding principles. As you know, we've been referring to our guiding principles at every meeting. Personal relationships, strong relationships, access and opportunity for all, high expectations for all, and health, wellness, and safety for each and every one of our community members. The lens through which we will look at everything that we do and all the decisions that we make. So unfortunately, we have a COVID-19 update in regards to the number of cases per 100,000. We were really since our last meeting, and as you know, we had early graduation, we had a nice long summer this year. Naugatuck is the garnet bar. It's kind of hard to see. So you have Connecticut in blue, you have in orange, and this is standard. You guys have seen this a million times. But we were at the garnet is at a level 1, as you can see for those 3 reporting periods. And if it's a 1, that means that we were less than between 1 and 5 cases per 100,000, which essentially translates to a not applicable. I just put 1 in the bar graph so that you know that's where we stand. So we went really the whole summer up until the reporting period of, I think it's the 18th of July through the 31st of July. And that's where we saw the spike, so we're at 8.3. Still in low transmission, but obviously we'll continue to track the data moving forward. So still in low transmission. Well, this is our first spike since I would say May-ish, where we have been enjoying since the end of the school year a less than 1 through 5 cases in that reporting period. So that's the current context in regards to the data. So basically the mask update is what I had sent out to the community. We have an executive order from the governor So there was an executive order when we ended the school year that mandated masks in schools through July 20th. Prior to July 20th, on the eve of the 20th or on the 20th itself, the governor extended the order through executive order through September 30th. So where we stand in regards to masks is we have an executive order that they're mandated in schools, in school buildings through September 30th. We're still awaiting guidance from the CSD and DPH. We have not yet received that. They know that we have until the 30th, and we're told it'll be prior to the start of the school year. We'll see. Other information I think it's pertinent for this board to know is that the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommend mask wearing in all schools regardless of vaccination status. Once we receive updated information, we'll meet and we'll revise our policies as appropriate. So another part of our Safe Return to School plan is a voluntary K-6 student testing program. So Connecticut is making available, so screening testing is a mitigation strategy that's voluntary for families. It's recommended by the CDC, the DPH, and the CSDE. The CSD is providing this option to K-6 schools, and it's weekly screening testing for students and unvaccinated staff in grades K through 6. It is aimed at asymptomatic testing, and this is not testing that you're going to go get if you are sick, right? Because if people have symptoms and are sick, we don't want them coming into the buildings. But this is a strategy that will be voluntary. Parents will have permission slips and will provide consent if they would like weekly asymptomatic testing of their children in the grade levels for which they're not yet authorized or for vaccinations. So we may have some interest in it, we may have none. This, again, it's voluntary. And the last update in regards to back to school is the, it's not the last one, it's remote learning. So some folks mentioned remote learning in their updates. Right now, the law does not permit remote learning. So some of the comments in the return to school plan, although they weren't a lot, there were some that said, I still want remote learning for my child. Well, it's not permissive. We're not permitted to offer the remote learning option. That was temporarily permitted due to the state of emergency created by the COVID pandemic. But it's not an option. Therefore, remote learning, so on inclement weather, would be traditional snow days. So we'll be meet up at the end of the school year. Local regional boards of education may authorize the use of remote learning, but and this is attached here, I think I sent it out, at least I know I incorporated it into board docs, rather. Basically, the state of Connecticut is establishing remote learning standards that will be permitted in 22-23 for high school students only. They're also evaluating the possibility of having a state-run virtual school. More information to follow. But again, as it stands right now, remote learning as an option for masses would only be available in 22-23 for students in high school, unless something happens and the current context changes and it becomes permissible by executive order. So if the data climbs, perhaps the governor can change it, because remote learning was only permitted, it's only permitted by law, right? There's no provision in the law. It would take an executive order for us to be allowed to do that. So we have it in our safe return to school plans as a backup plan, but right now it's not permitted. And that doesn't mean that if a child is quarantined, we can't support them. It means that we can't offer a choice for everyone to just have sort of virtual learning. Okay? So supporting somebody who might need quarantine for 10 days virtually is different. We would provide for the continuity of learning, but we're not going to offer a distance learning program like we did in the past. We're actually not permitted to unless unless permitted by executive order or legislation. So last, fall sports. I tweaked this morning because the CIAC guidance, I don't know if you saw, they just came out today. And as expected, they were similar to the spring. All fall sports are permitted. So if you recall last year, the high contact sports such as wrestling and football were not permitted. All sports are permitted. It's following the mask guidance that's currently in place. Outdoor sports such as football, soccer, cross-country, and cheerleading when it's outside, no masks. Indoor sports must wear masks, volleyball, cheerleading, and swimming when they're not in the pool. Similar, I guess, to the Olympics when swimming, right? Fans will be permitted to, right now, we have no fan policy, other than fans can come, they just have to abide by whatever the mask and or health guidelines are in place at that time. So a year ago, when we started this, and we didn't know as much about the pandemic, if you recall, we didn't have fans in indoor. We can space them, if they're wearing masks, they can go into the volleyball games, et cetera. Again, so long as everyone's following the rules, we're hopeful, as CIAC is hopeful that we're gonna have a nice full season of sports where students are able to play a full season. I didn't put in here a lot of the return to school protocols and the quarantine protocols, because those were really the same as what we had in the spring. But I have the full CIAC document available if any of you would like to read it. It's only like 5 pages. But again, it's really similar to the spring. And CIAC tweeted it out, it's, you can Google it in certainly no time at all. Mr. Chair, unless there's questions, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Does anyone have questions for Superintendent Martin?
Can I ask one question
Yeah.
with regards to the ARP grant review?
Sure.
In the process of preparing for that grant review, does it say anywhere in there that masks must be required in order to receive that money?
No, it
Because I didn't
says,
see that anywhere in the write-up.
it does not, there, did I write the quote? So there's like an 11 or a 13-page federal guidance. And what it does is it mandates that you have to, in your continuity of services and in your safe return to school plan, you have to speak to every element of the CDC. They don't require you to adopt everything as published in order to receive the funding, but you have to have a plan that speaks to every element. So for example, in June, we did not have that testing program as an option that we just spoke of. So we had to speak to that element, and we will continue to collaborate with the Naugatuck Valley Health Department and entertain the possibility of testing if it should come available. Well, we'll modify our plan now because there's a voluntary option for those families who might want that testing. Maybe they have a family member that is at home, I don't know. I do know that there's gonna be plenty of people that are not gonna have their child swabbed in school and tested, right? So, that's a voluntary option. So no, it does have, and I will get to you. I will share with you the exact quote from the federal guidance on the ARP. I'll send it out or post it in Board Doc, but I did have it the other day. I read to it, and basically it's what I just paraphrased and what I just summarized.
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful if, the language was posted, because that seems to be one of the misconceptions. I believe that
Well,
the grant is contingent on that.
Right, but even if it's posted, it's not really clear. I could see where people would infer, because even though they tell you you don't have to mandate, you still have to put forth a plan and explain why you're not doing, explain the extent to which you're going to adopt.
Right.
Yeah, we can post that. I believe we're going to post it on the coronavirus section of the website.
I also have a question.
Yes.
Going back to what you were saying,
Mhm.
you're no longer mandated to do remote, but you will make exceptions where there needs to be quarantine of a child, right? Like
We're going to provide continuity of learning if a child needs to quarantine. I don't know if that means it'll be remote access to the classroom, or if it would be, they would get help from a tutor or another teacher, a separate time. But yeah, if we're going to continue with students' education if they need to quarantine. That's permitted, but as of right now, I don't think it counts as a school day. It's sort of like old school 2 years ago, if you were out for 2 weeks, you'd get work sent home. You do the work, you kept doing the learning, but as of right now, that attendance is not permitted in the state of Connecticut. Doesn't count as a school day, essentially. Yeah.
I have a question for you. I have a question.
Mr. Chair.
Unfortunately, we.
No, I just have a question about what you were saying about the virtual.
Do you want to answer?
Please.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Michelle.
I'm sorry.
So if little Bobby has COVID, and little Bobby has COVID, and then my kid has to quarantine because my kid isn't vaccinated because they're too young. So we have to stay home. So the whole class has to stay home if they were in a little, no?
No. So, and I'm gonna just, I should have put this in here. I think I put it in the, what I sent out to the community. Once we get the updated guidance again from the state, we'll host webinars where I'll host a Zoom webinar and be able to go over all of this stuff. So, the contact tracing states that anyone that's exposed and unvaccinated within 6 feet needs to quarantine, although there's an exception for student-to-student contact within a classroom, if they're both mask wearing, only students who are within 3 feet would have to quarantine. So 2 students sitting next to each other, one of whom gets COVID, in your situation, it's Bobby. If someone is sitting 3 feet or greater away from Bobby, but they both were wearing masks, then there would not be the need to quarantine. That's an exception for students only in the classroom this particular year. Generally speaking, how we operated last year, and for adults or adults to students, it's within 6 feet. So if you're 6 feet and further, regardless of if you're wearing a mask or not, and you're exposed, if you're unvaccinated, you would need to quarantine. If you're vaccinated, you don't need to quarantine unless, of course, you have symptoms. So, so that's that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Superintendent? Seeing none, we'll move into our monthly report. Our first report is our facility use report. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move into our human resource report. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move into the enrollment report. And are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move into new business. Our first item is new business.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Oh, no, you know what? I'll do it when we get to D. My apologies. Go ahead.
You're good, sure. Okay. Our first item of new business is the healthy food certification vote. If
So-
Bernice wants to.
So let me just jump in first for a second. So yes, if you are saying this is deja vu all over again, like Yogi Berra, you just voted on this. The way the motion came down to us from the state, we voted was not correct. So you're going to see a dissertation vote, motion that, so you have to vote again, because the motion, of course, for this program has to be exact. So, Mrs. Risk, are you going to read the motion, ask for the motion, so that a board member could just say so moved? Excellent.
Okay, you ready? The first one. Is it okay if I stand here? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Motion that pursuant to CGS Section 10-21(5)(f), the Naugatuck Board of Education or governing authority certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
We have a motion by Jim and a second by Dorothy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, motion that the Naugatuck Board of Education or a governing authority will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of a regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. 3, the food items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Karen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes.
Last one. Motion that the Naugatuck Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale to students of beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of a regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that means more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is a period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
And do we have a motion?
Motion.
A second.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Jim. Any discussion?
I got one question. Last time we did two, what did they do? Break the beverages away from the solid foods?
Correct. Correct. There's one for food and there's one for beverage.
Beverages. Okay.
And any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
We'll then move into potential new teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're going to bring the enrollment report up, and they're excellent. Well, normally, or I guess I should say years ago, or 2 years ago, in my assistant role, I would bring, if we needed it in September, October perhaps, we needed an additional teacher, and I would write a memo requesting because it was an increase to our budget. We, as you know, wrote in some class size teachers into the grants. So I basically, we're watching the enrollment closely, like in the enrollment report, and we'll be working with the principals, and there be a possibility of adding teachers. There's no impact to the budget, so I will keep you in the loop, but I'm not going to write a memo and seek your approval ahead of time, since it's not an increase to the budget that you'd approve. It's an operation that we're going to do as part of our strategy and grant funding. Okay? So it's really, class size and spacing, all a part of the approach to getting back to school and remaining in person. So right now, there's a couple spots that we're looking at, but it's still early with registrations in and out. So we're gonna, watch it daily. And we'll let you know if anything changes.
Thank you. We'll then move into the ACES membership agreement.
So I'm gonna, there you go.
Okay, so this is regarding our annual membership to ACES that we need to vote on each year. And appoint a representative to and an alternate. Currently, Ethel is our representative to ACES. And she still wants to be. I believe. And do we have, is Jim our alternate? And Jim is our alternate. Who also still wants to be. Great.
I'm still there.
So then, I'm gonna ask for a, do these have to be separate motions?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. Let me look.
Okay, so we'll
It
do
is,
two
it's
separate.
written that way, so it's probably safer, I think, Dorothy, you're right.
So could I have a motion to approve the 2021, 2022 annual membership to participate in area cooperative educational services?
I make that motion.
There's a motion by Dorothy
I second.
and a second by Karen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. Could I then have a motion to approve Ethel as a representative and Jim as the alternate representative to serve on the ACES governing board?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Marilyn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. Congratulations again. We'll then move into the City Hill Middle School solar project.
Great, so we're gonna transition for a minute. We have, Adam and Gary, I'm assuming, are gonna be on the other end of the Zoom. They're gonna Zoom, present to you on City Hill and then the CHP. So they're coming in now.
Adam or Gary, are you there?
There he is. We're not connected, so. Adam, would you turn your microphone up on the loud side? 'Cause we're not, there you go, we're good. Great, so, we just, are at the City Hill Solar Project, so, if you can, either share your screen, there you go. Great, so I'll, just like the other night, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving us the opportunity tonight to give the update on City Hill Middle School Solar Project. As you'll see here on the picture, I thought this was appropriate as, this was all part of being able to get the new roof put on the school and then go ahead and move forward putting in solar. So this all began, as you'll see here on our screen, March 22nd, 2021. Todd Pirelli, Jim Scully, we're all on the roof here. We still had some snow, and we were doing a site visit with the bidders. And by May 18th, 2021, the site was fully mobilized. We had the lift there, we had the container, we had some blocks, the inverters, some solar panels, and by May 25th, we were loading the roof. So we had all the solar panels brought up, and I don't know if you can see my cursor moving around, but one thing that we like to point out is the extra care and the extra distance that we go to make sure these are all rubber mats that are placed under to make sure that there was, that the roof was constantly, paid attention to and protected during the installation. By May 25th, we also had a good portion of some solar panels already laid out and some racking. And by May 28th, we had the disconnect and ZREC meter socket wired up. By June 16th, a good majority of the roof was actually solar panel. And we also had the crane there on May 16th to go ahead and boom up the additional blocks to the roof, which help hold down the ballasted system. As we all know, this is a non-penetrating system. It doesn't go into the roof. This is all held down by ballasted blocks. And this is just to show some of the very nice tight work of the conduit going into a junction box, which then goes off the roof. Here are the three inverters that are on the north side of the penthouse, which are, out of the elements and on the north side, so they're not taking a beating by the sun. And here on July 2nd, we are ready for our inspection. So what you see on the left-hand side of the picture here, I tried to merge two pictures together, so I apologize so everybody could zoom in and see this. But this is the main disconnect of the solar system. And this is for the firefighters, so they could identify where everything is on the roof, from junction boxes and all the proper labeling. And the picture here on the right is our ZRAC meter, which helps count all the kilowatt hours produced in order to provide the revenue that the borough is going to receive from the zero emission renewable energy credits. And here's a nice snapshot of the completed solar array on the roof.
Adam, I think your slide, I'm not an expert, but I think the previous, there you go. Because I think that you were showing the inverters when you were talking about the fire. So anyway, you were a slide behind.
Sorry, yeah,
You're good to go
there's a
now.
little lag in my talk fast, so
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
everybody. Do these things too often, so I apologize.
No worries,
Thank you,
you're good.
Mr. Martini. So back to the inverters. Did everybody see the inverters here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So here are the inverters, and then let me know. I believe it should have went to the next slide.
Yep.
To the disconnect. So this is the disconnect that I was talking about with the proper labeling and the ZREC meter. So we all see that. And all this on July 2nd was really important because this is, we had our inspection with the Borough of Naugatuck Electrical and Building Department and passed with flying colors. And so this is a nice layout from a drone picture. And this is the part where I think everybody likes to really see how we did on the numbers. So under the architect's proposed budget, which we had to go to DAS for in order to say, hey, we want to build a solar system and we're going to look for 75% reimbursement for Naugatuck. So when the budget came together, it was $710,176. And the actual, so I just flipped slides and I hope it updated. So the final cost breakdown, which is really important, is we went from 710,000 to over here, basically center top, and from 710 to 603, 127.12 cents. So, we went from a contribution amount from the borough of 177,544 to a contribution amount from the borough of 150,81.78. And as we could all see in the right-hand column, which gives us our cumulative savings, the borough will have the system paid off for by the end of the third year. They will have the money that they have to pay to DAS under the reimbursement program. The system will be paid off, and over 25 years, cumulatively, the borough will save about $1.5 million. So this was a very good investment. And also, which was really nice to point out, is despite all the industry issues with equipment and material shortages, the solar project finished on schedule by July 2nd. Now, remember, we started this project May 18th, and our goal was to have the project done and completed within 45 days, and it was. The the project finished under budget by $107,048.88 with no change orders. And tonight, we are going to be able to have a vote to accept the project today between Silver Petroselli and Associates, Advanced Energy Efficiencies, the Borough of Naugatuck, and WC McBride, who's the installer. All finalized documents were received, and Allison was able to process everything. So that was a big success for today's day's end. And I think it doesn't go without saying that the project has a roof warranty for 30 years, and that all passed with flying colors and was inspected by John Mansville. The panels, excuse me, are warranted for 25 years, the racking for 25 years, and the inverters for 20 years. So again, thank you, and just happy that the project was very successful, and it's going to be a great project for the Borough of Naugatuck and the Board of Ed.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to ask for a motion, and perhaps you can queue up the CHP project next, since you're on the agenda back to back there. So I'll ask for a motion, or go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I get to-
So can I have a motion to accept as complete construction project 088-0075 PD?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Jim and a second by Marilyn. Any discussion?
I just want to say that the job is done perfectly. You can go up and check every line out.
And he does. And so did you climb the ladders.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Any other comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes.
Thank you. And so I'd like to go on and give the next update for another very large energy project that's actually happening in the building you guys are in at Naugatuck High School, the combined heat and power update. So as we all know, this project also began our sidewalk on March 2nd, 2021. As you see, we have a whole bunch of engineers in the building, the electrical engineer, the owner of Controlled Air, some additional engineers, a project manager, and then Scott from our facilities team at the Naugatuck Board of Education. And by April 7th, we had the railings removed, and we had the housekeeping pads poured for the project. And that same day, we had some of our material already starting to show up. So these 4 units that you see on the back of the flatbed here, these are the 4 independent cogen 35 kW units totaling 140 kW. Give it a second to load to the next page. Now what you see is by the evening of April 7th, which is a very long day, these are not small units. They kind of look small in a picture, but they stand here probably about 5.5 to 6 feet tall, all nicely placed on their housekeeping pads. And by May 24th, our plumbing was well underway. One of the things I like to point out, if I could flip back a slide, is if you look at these 4 units, you don't see any pipes. But by May 24th, you see all the plumbing that was taking place. These units, as a reminder to everybody, are going to be putting out 55% of the school's electrical load and 45% of the school's electrical load and 55% of the school's thermal load, which is the heating. So what you see here are hot and cold water returns and gas pipes. And we like to take the pictures from all different angles because, I think I heard Mr. Scully there tonight, but as he can tell you, I mean, everything is so plumb and square and level, very neatly done. It's fascinating to look at, especially for an engineer. And even for a layperson that really doesn't know anything about plumbing or is just, thinks you're just looking at pipes, it's not easy, doing plumbing work and doing these trades, but, as you'll see here on the right-hand side, this is the heat exchanger. I mean, all these pipes are properly plumbed and are going to, as you see move forward in pictures, actually line up perfectly and connect. And, so it's pretty fascinating. Again, these is another side profile picture by June 23rd. All the gauges, all the gas lines, were all connected. And you see it all going across the top and how level and all the valves and everything are at the same exact height. Here you see the heat exchanger and the expansion tank. All these were properly plumbed in and nicely located, and all the hangers to make sure everything is stable and in correct positions. And as I was just saying in that previous picture, you saw this heat exchanger here with pipes that just looked like they were hanging above. But here they are with all the valve shutoffs and all your gauges, all at the same height and easily to read and identify all your pressures. And here on the left-hand side is, this is the 8-inch glycol loop. And the crazy thing that we experienced is this glycol loop did not have any sort of shutoff. So we actually brought in, this is a large drill that you see sticking out, and we actually brought in a special team to go ahead and do a wet tap and actually connect two 4-inch pipes into the 8-inch pipe for the system. By July 29th, controls on the electrical side are all starting to be hung. And as you can see, as in many other pictures that I didn't put up, but there's a level that was on everything. So as you can see the picture on the right-hand side, this is the transformer, the level here, and everything is just very well put together. By August 4th, some more electrical work. We had the variable frequency drives and our own electrical panel all wired. And most importantly, where are we on schedule? So currently what is being finalized is the radiator is up on the roof. We have plumbing that is being finished to the radiator. The flue will be completed next week. And between this week and next week, we'll be wrapping up electrical. And we are going to be getting ready to go ahead and fire this system up probably within 2 weeks. So, the big thing that for both of these projects that we can't talk about enough is, and I'm sure some of the people there understand this, and some of the people that are actually in the industries and the trades, but to get equipment and material, we've been able to manage this whole project and keep everything on time. And again, no change orders, and the project is on budget. And again, we're just excited to give everybody an update tonight.
Thank you, Adam. Does anyone have any questions?
In looking at the system, it seems quite sophisticated with a lot of gauges and things like that. Is there an alarm system that's connected? Should it malfunction? And the second question is our maintenance staff equipped with the knowledge to understand how this works?
Adam, I'll let you, it's funny, he's already nodding, answering right above you on the screen. I'll let you start, and then I can chime in.
Yeah, no, excellent. Yes, the system is 100% monitored and has 100% safety attached to it. So the safety system goes well beyond even some of the safety systems that are in most facilities. So if anything was to be at a high pressure alarm or something like that, the facilities staff at the Borough of Naugatuck would get alerts, like Top Borelli, Scott, and also our installer would get alerts. And if there was anything that it was actually like a serious emergency, the units have the ability to properly shut down. And we could also shut them down remotely. So that is a huge benefit where a lot of systems you can't control remotely. And And then secondly, from a training aspect of it, is once the system is finally installed, there will be a 2-day training seminar and constant communication, to make sure everybody understands. Luckily, there's not a lot of, for all the piping and very sophisticated system that you see, there's not many moving parts. You just have hot and cold water that are going in and out, just like a furnace. The only difference is versus just burning natural gas to have hot water, you're burning natural gas and you're actually creating electricity, and the byproduct is hot water. Just as Mr. Pirelli understands his furnaces and his HVAC systems, he will have a well in-depth knowledge of this system and will be there 100%. And the system does come within operation and maintenance agreement to make sure the system is constantly monitored and maintained to the highest standards.
Is there a 24-hour monitoring system, I'm assuming, attached to this?
Yeah, 24/7, 365.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Adam. We appreciate all of your
Thank you,
work.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
So we will then move into assistant athletic directors.
Great, so as you know, we have the vacant position of Director of Athletics, PE, Health and Wellness. What we are going to do this year is a pilot program where we're gonna leave the position vacant for the year and post for 2 stipend assistant athletic director positions. So it would be it would certainly save the board, it would save the budget, but really what we're doing is we're evaluating this year in this pilot, a new approach to see if in fact we can't improve upon the services that we're delivering by having multiple folks supporting and attending and supervising our athletic games. So it's actually, there's no cost. I've been meeting with folks, working out some of the details, and I'm hoping to get it posted early next week. So this would not be a standalone position. There'd be, I think we're looking to do 2 stipends for existing staff to be assistant athletic directors.
And does anyone have any questions for Superintendent Martini?
Yes, for that, would
Yeah.
that assistant be working at Naugatuck, both of them?
No, not necessarily. It'll be open to, and they could be working in other schools.
Other schools?
The primary role for the assistant athletic director is going to be supervision and site management of contests. So they can work in any school, right? They can work in any school, they can still come be sort of the person in charge of, the basketball game tonight or the swim meet that we have going on, et cetera.
Most of his duties at night?
Most of the duties are afternoon and night, yes. Very rarely, only in some tournaments and championships are they during the day. I know tennis sometimes where they have to start at noon, but over 90%, 95 or greater are really evenings, late afternoons, et cetera. Weekends. Vacations. There's basketball games over Christmas break, you get it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move into our policy revisions, and I know the superintendent has a memo because there are quite a few of them, which are all first reads this month.
And 2 actually, 2 in the next old business, yeah.
2 that we will have.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are going to have a number of meetings that have lots of policies. So we have just yesterday, Mrs. Santana and I were feeling good. We just got a lot of the policies redlined and updated, and we got 23 policies emailed by Shipman and Goodwin, the attorneys that we use for the policy series, I want to say 2 days ago. So some of those are gonna, so 23 might go down to like 19. So in the next coming months, the end of the legislative cycle, any changes in legislation brings about new policy. And we still had leftover policies that we're bringing to you from throughout changes in legislations last year. In addition, if a federal agency provides new guidance, oftentimes that'll impact and change. And we'll see that as I work through the memo. So there's a number of first reads in policy. As you know, we present them to you this month. That's one of the reasons why we posted the agenda for the board meeting prior to the weekend, to give a little extra time for you to read the first read, but really it's to take the full month to read and then vote on the second read. So the memo, and I'm not going to pull up any policies unless you ask. Really, I'm going to go through on the quick side and just review what a summary of what the changes are for each policy. So for our 1411, deadly weapons and firearms, it's a minor change that expands the definition of a peace officer, and it also clarifies that transportation is a school-sponsored activity. Volunteers, 1211. So this is a somewhat of a substantial update. The policy was updated to include a process and criteria for background checks and screening school volunteers. That's more in-depth than previous. Policy also clarifies that student interns are not considered student teachers under Connecticut law, and that all volunteers must abide by whatever the health and mitigation protocols and strategies are at that time. So again, I'll just go through these, but I want to say that all of these they've come from our attorneys, who Shipman and Goodwin, who set a decent amount, many people use throughout the state. The athletic, this is a minor policy, really. It just includes the statutory definition of an athletic director and provides that the AD may evaluate coaches consistent with the law. Policy 4400, all we're doing here is it's including remote and distance learning. Just in the event that we ever have to do it, that's added to the policy. Section 504 ADA 4108, minor technical revisions to the policy. The administrative regulations were updated based on recommendations from OCR. So you might not have a change in legislation, but there you have I'll say, institution or branch of government or that changes its guidelines, which would then impact policies as well. 4600, it's a title change from reports of suspected abuse to neglect of children. The policy was revised in accordance with suggestions from DCF and to update addresses for several resources listed at the end of the policy. Some of these policies you'll see that you go through and any ones that are related to 504, ADA, Title IX, those are really thick, cumbersome policies. So sometimes, like here, the reference was to the Department of Children and Families. So the changes are like changing that 50 times to DCF. So sometimes they're minor and technical. 5340, child sexual abuse and assault policy and reporting procedures. It's a title change from child abuse / neglect. Significant revisions were made to the reporting procedures for students, again, based on recommendations from DCF. So more changes for the students than for personnel, but changes nonetheless. 5125, confidentiality and access to education records. Minor technical updates to the policy associated with the regulations and the new retention period for records under Title IX. Field trips. It's a minor update to include the provision to develop administrative regulations, which we already have. Health assessments, screenings, and oral health assessments. Minor update to the administrative regulations to align with the statutory language around physical examinations, and it adds a sample oral health assessment letter to the policy. And IDEA, alternative assessments. I went right to Nicole because I was like, oh, did we change this? And we did change the policy recently. The law changed, so the only thing in this policy that changed is the citing at the very end because the law changed. So sometimes they're as small as that. And then when we get to old business, I will talk to the 4150 and 5600. That's all the new business first reads.
Does anyone have any questions on any of the first reads?
If you And if you don't have any now, what worked last time too was somebody, they called me, you give me a call and then I'll have them answered in advance for the time for the second meeting.
So it's a lot of reading this month that we have to catch up on to
Yes,
look at all these.
we'll keep you busy the next 2 months.
Yeah. So seeing no questions, we'll move into old business, which are first these proposed revisions to BOE policy 4150, sex discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace.
So this policy, we actually had on, I think, for 3 months, because the first time, there was actually a change and then a change again. So I had a conversation with the board member around, these in between the first and second read, and then if you remember, we tabled it. So what you have here is you have a change in the Title IX federal regulations, which have led to a pretty comprehensive revisions in our policy. A lot of what has been updated was on clarity of who needs to do what when and the timelines associated therewith. So I believe it's a very big policy, but it makes clearer for those that will implement, such as our administrators, what the timelines with which they'll approach any situation. So comprehensive change in Title IX. We've had this one for a few months now.
Could I have a motion to approve BOE policy 4150, sex discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ethel and a second by Jim. Any discussion?
Can I just say, I think we clarified, I asked you before about the training of the coordinator. Could you just tell me again, who does the training for the coordinator of this sexual harassment, for the reporting and?
Yes, externally, he'll go to a workshop, most often by RESTs or all the attorneys. So the major attorneys, Shipman and Goodwin, Bertram Moses, Pullman Conley.
And that the students, because we discussed this before, students will know who that coordinator is and.
Yes, it's listed as the building principal in every building, and then, of course, we have Title IX down here at central office overseeing that, yes. And we also talked about training or programs for students that we are continuing to look at to incorporate into, at the high school level, into advisory.
That's at the beginning of the school year, the advisory, is that a?
Advisory is throughout,
Throughout.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure, but does this also include the staff, because you said students will have a vote?
Yeah, this is, yes, we have one for students and one for staff. We have two policies, one for one and one for the other, yep.
And any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. So we'll then move into proposed revisions to BOE policy 5600, prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment. And this is the student one. And can I have a motion to approve BOE policy 5600, prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment as proposed?
Motion.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Karen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. We'll then move into communications. First one, waiver.
Great. Any questions about the bid waiver? I'm anticipating that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Any questions?
This $12,000, this is for the whole system across the.
Yeah, it's a big money saver. We're gonna save a lot of money. We're projecting to save a lot of money on our phones by changing carriers, streamlining, to, Flow Root and Toronto. The people that own School Messenger so we're getting rid of the Comcast and Frontier and all of that.
Yeah, we don't have that many of them.
You know, you have to ask me the question, or I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to get back to you. I don't know on the cell phones. Bernice, do you know on the cell phones?
We only have two district cell phones. So we'll continue to keep those. We only have two employees that have
Yeah,
district cell phones.
but it's not included in this bid.
It's not included in this. This is going to eliminate Comcast and Frontier.
Yeah.
We're only gonna keep Frontier, copper hard lines for burglar alarms, the fire alarms, and the elevator alarms. Because we don't want to run those over the internet.
Right.
We transitioned to voice over IP for the phones.
Yeah.
Yep, so we just now found, it's like shopping for a new provider, once you realize that your cable bill is too high and you don't watch most of the channels. So we're calling and getting a new provider.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on that?
Do I have to make a motion?
Nope, no motion. So we will then move into convocation.
Great, so we'll send something out to you, but our convocation is set for 9 o'clock on Monday, the 30th. It's going to be virtual. So I will send the Zoom link to the board members that are interested in attending. It'll be virtual for the district. It'll likely be about 2 hours. We'll have a guest speaker. So we'll keep our remarks, my remarks, I guess I should say, on the short side, so that we can get as much from the speaker this year as possible. His name's Ashanti Branch. Had a chance at a workshop a few years ago to listen to him, really, and about the masks that we wear and the individual stories of our students. So looking forward to a really great convocation to kick off what is going to be another great year, despite the obstacles and/or associated with the pandemic. We're going to get back. We're going to work really hard to give the students the experience they deserve. So convocation, again, you'll get that Zoom. You're going to get it as a webinar member, not as a panelist, because really it's just going to be, it'll be the speaker, maybe myself, my camera will be off when it's the speaker, with the rest of the staff. So.
Did you get,
Yeah, sorry.
I was just curious, it's gonna be virtual, right?
Mhm.
So, was there a reason why you decided not to do it in person?
Yeah. I don't,
Question.
spacing. If we were to do it in person, it would be best to do it outside, given the number of people. Really, we can't distance with everybody. So when it's outside, you run the risk of weather. We did it outside one year, my first year, second year. And it was a day like today, it was really hot. Mr. McCary left, but he was not a fan. We were out on the football field. So, yeah, just, right now, it's still safer. A week before, a few days before school, not wanting to put 600 people in one place.
Did you give a time?
9 o'clock is when it starts.
9 o'clock?
Yeah, you'll get it in writing from me once we write up the invitation, create the Zoom.
I may have an ACES event, however.
Okay.
Who is the speaker?
Ashanti Branch, I'm gonna send out his bio too.
Great. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, we'll move into board communications. Board communications.
I just wanted to say that myself, Ethel, and Marilyn went to the Summer Leadership Conference for CAVE. It was actually in person. It was nice to see people in person, and the discussion was very good. I found it to be one of the best conferences that we've been to for a summer session in quite some time. And the discussion really surrounded about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was also a panel discussion dealing with divisive issues, which I thought was put together quite well from superintendents and board members from other districts. And then we had a psychologist, Dr. Elaine Ducharme, talk on your social emotional wellness, which she she was really very good. And, you know, in the future, you know, if you need someone for Convocation, she might be one to reach out to. So all in all, I think it was a pretty good event. Most everybody, you know, practiced social distancing and I felt it was a really good event and definitely worth our time.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any other board communications? Seeing none, I only have one. I just want to remind everyone that a couple meetings ago, we chose and appointed you to be liaisons to different schools in town. And don't forget that school's starting up again, so be in touch with your principals and school PTOs to get involved and know what's going on in each of your schools.
Do they post any information online on their calendar?
They will. I just turned to Assistant Superintendent Cooney and said, when we have our back to school admin next week meetings, we're going to ask them to reach out. We'll give them the list of liaisons and ask them to reach out to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other board communications? Seeing none, that brings us to adjournment.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Dorothy and a second by Marilyn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.